afternoon, everyone. We're going to be starting very shortly. We're going to give people a few more minutes to trickle in, but not a little bit longer. Sit tight. We'll be back in just a moment. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Austin Afshar. I'm the clinic director and physical therapist at Spear Physical and Occupational Therapy's Park Slope location. I'd like to welcome back those of you who've attended one of our past webinars, as well as welcome those of you who are here for the first time. Thank you all for choosing to spend the afternoon with us for the next hour or so. For those of you who don't know who we are, Spear is a private outpatient practice that's been around for over 20 years with currently 20 locations throughout the New York City metro area. We have safely continued to offer in-person care through the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as offer Spear Live for those of you who are looking to stay in and receive care using our telehealth platform from the comfort of your own home. In our clinics, we're strategically going above and beyond the CDC guidelines to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone within our clinics. For more detailed information on the safety measures that we're taking, please visit our website at spearcenter.com. All right, so we're here for you in whichever way makes you feel the most comfortable. If you're looking for individualized care, either in the clinic or again through telehealth, please reach out to us at your convenience and we'll get you set up for an appointment right away. Now, we're here with you today because since the COVID-19 pandemic began, we've received many questions about how to increase and maintain strength and balance, and questions around foot and ankle discomfort due to many of us resorting to increased running or walking in our neighborhood and or local parks as motivation to stay in shape. Now, as PTs, we're so happy at the number of you who are trying to stay in shape and keep moving. However, unfortunately, we have identified that some people may not have the best advice and or education on this topic. Our team of talented and creative clinicians have joined forces and agreed that given today's ongoing challenging circumstances, it'd be a great opportunity to provide everyone with education on why balance is important and how it relates to a healthy foot/ankle region, and provide you all with exercises to try at home to increase the strength and stability of your foot and ankle region. We created today's talk specifically for you and are coming to you live from our own homes and clinics throughout the New York City area. We don't anticipate any technical issues today, but please be patient with us if an issue does arise. Okay, so as part of our session, we're going to be demonstrating some exercises, and we really look forward to you following along and participating at home. I promise This is not going to be like your typical Zoom meeting that I'm sure everyone is used to. We're going to actually get up, we're going to have some fun, we're going to get you moving. But please note, if you're experiencing any pain while performing any of these exercises that we demonstrate for you today, or if you're feeling unsteady or unsafe, please stop, reach out to us directly so that we can support you. Okay, so before we get started, let's just jump into a few housekeeping things. So throughout the webinar, we want to hear from you. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know your thoughts in the Q&A feature. Now, where's the Q&A feature for anyone who may not be familiar with Zoom? If everyone can hover at the bottom of your screen, you will see a Q&A option with 2 speech bubbles. So the 2 speech bubbles, that is where you want to put your questions, and we'll do our best to address as many of them as we can during the webinar. If you put your questions in the chat, we may not be able to get to them. So please, again, all questions in the Q&A section so we can do our best to get to them. For those of you who are watching through YouTube Live, we are monitoring the comment section there as well. So please feel free to use that to type in your questions. All right, so now that's out of the way. Let's talk about our goals for the day and what we're going to be covering. So our goals are going to be to learn how balance is important for maintaining a healthy foot and ankle, as well as to learn exercises you can try at home to increase strength and stability of that body part. Now, I'll say right now, I was monitoring some of the questions that were submitted, and I see that there is a lot of questions around plantar fasciitis. So rest assured, we will touch on that a little bit as well. So feel free, again, the Q&A section at the bottom, if you do have questions pertaining to that, please put them down there. All right. So before we get started, I'd like to introduce our team of panelists. We're going to welcome everyone on the screen now. All right, so we have Odalisse Figueroa, who's a physical therapist at our 84th Street location on the Upper East Side in Manhattan.
Hey, everyone.
Next, we have Becky Insalaco, who's a physical therapist at our Brooklyn Heights location.
Hey, everyone.
And lastly, we have Joe Lacerdo, who's the clinic director and physical therapist at our 84th Street location as well on the Upper East Side in Manhattan. He's going to be helping us in the background with answering your questions in the Q&A section.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, guys. Welcome to the screen. Let's get the show started. Joe, Becky, and I are going to say goodbye for now. Odalisse, the show is yours.
All right, guys. So before we get things started, we want to take a quick poll question and ask how many of you guys know how many bones make up our foot and ankle complex. And that's all the bones from your ankle down towards your toes. Do we think it's 5, 18, 26, or 35? And if you tune into our July webinar, you might already know the answer. And if not, it might come as a surprise to you. So let's see what everyone thinks. Hope everyone can see the poll question. And results are in. All right, so 35 is the most popular answer. Second is 26. So although there are a lot of bones, 26 is the correct answer. And with that said, we're going to go through a very quick anatomy review so that we may deepen your understanding of the foot and ankle. So first, we're going to look at the bones. So first, we have our calcaneus, which is our heel bone, and it's the biggest bone in our foot. Also, the first thing to strike the ground when you first take a step. And then on top of that, we have our talus, which is a dome-shaped bone. Yep, there's a pointer that sits between the calcaneus or the heel bone, and then our 2 lower leg bones are fibula and tibia. So the tibia and fibula are the bones that go below your knee. These 3 bones, the talus, tibia, and fibula, create our ankle joint. So the ankle joint is actually only comprised of 3 bones. And the main motion of the ankle is up and down. And then all the other bones come together to provide all the other motions. So side to side and in and out. And then for our muscles, we won't go through naming all of them. We just want to highlight 2 main things. We have extrinsic muscles and intrinsic muscles. For extrinsic muscles, what we mean by that is muscles of our lower leg that go down into our foot and ankle. So these are muscles like our calf, right on the right there, and muscles such as the tibialis anterior that provide movement and power to our foot and ankle. And then on the flip side, we have our intrinsic muscles, which only lie within our foot. So these are small muscles that have two main goals: to provide support for your arch. So those of you that may have a more flat foot or very high arches, these muscles are going to be very important for you. And then they also provide fine motor movement of our toes. So the muscles and bones come together to provide strength and stability, and they also work with other systems in our body to provide balance, which Becky will now get into.
All right, thanks, Odalisse. Now I wanted to ask you guys a poll question as well. Within the last year, how many times have you experienced a fall or a loss of balance? So what I mean by a loss of balance is if there's any time where you felt like unsteady, let's say doing yoga and you had to reach out to the counter for support, or even like walking down the street and you had to reach out and hold on to a friend or hold on to a wall or anything like that to keep you steady. Hopefully we can see some of the results coming in, but all I wanted to say was that your ankle muscles and your foot muscles that Odalisse just went over are all super important for helping your ankle stability and helping you keep your balance. So here are the results. So I see a lot of people had a couple of falls or times when they feel loss of balance. So the exercises that we're going to go over are going to be really helpful as well. The ankle and foot muscles are working really hard to keep your foot steady and on the ground and challenging your balance. Like especially when you're standing on one foot, you might feel your toes trying to grip down to keep you steady, and your ankle muscles that support it as well are really playing a role. There are also other balance systems that play a role in helping you keep your balance, such as your visual system. So using your eyes to look where you're going. So if you ever have your eyes closed when you're doing an exercise, you might feel a little bit more unsteady with your eyes closed, meaning that you are more visually reliant on using your eyes to help you keep balance. Another one is the somatosensory and proprioception. So that's basically knowing where your body and your foot is in place. So adding different things, like if you're on a foam pad or on a pillow, trying to keep balance, your foot's really working hard to tell your body where it is in space. And overall, using all of that to kind of help you keep steady and stay balanced. And then the last one I wanted to touch on was just the vestibular system. So that just means that your inner ear is working with head positions and helping you to help maintain, keep your balance with certain things. So now I wanted to bring Odalisse back so we can talk about some reasons why this webinar and the exercises we will go over will be beneficial for you. So for example, if you have frequent falls, if you're tripping over things, or if you're kind of feeling unsteady with stepping over things, or even feeling unsteady on different surfaces, let's say like you're going on a hike and there's like a little bit more gravel, a little bit more rocks, and you're feeling a little unsteady with that. Another example is if you're doing different like yoga poses and like especially with single leg stance and feeling like a little unsteady, like you can't keep your balance and have to use a counter for support.
Yep, this will also be beneficial for those of you who've had frequent sprains, especially if you already had maybe a lateral ankle sprain. Your chances of having a second or even third or fourth one can be high if you don't bulletproof that ankle. This can also be beneficial for those of you who just feel like you have weakness in your foot and ankle due to old injuries, not only in the foot, but also the knee or the hip. And then for those of you who might have plantar fasciitis or Achilles tendonitis and things like that. And yeah, so we're gonna get started. Becky's gonna take us through some exercises first.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody, please feel free to follow along. I'm gonna be talking, and Odalisse is gonna be over there doing the demonstration for all the exercises. What I want to say is make sure you're doing the reps like 12 times, and make sure you're doing both feet. So the first one that I want to do is, Odalisse, if you could take a seat and point the camera towards your feet first.
Oh, let me move this out of the way.
There we go. Perfect. So the first one that I want to work on is more of that intrinsic muscle strengthening. So the in one of the first pictures that Odalisse showed, so the little muscles in the foot. So what I want you to do is go ahead and scrunch up the towel with your toes. There you go. So yeah, this one's working really hard on the muscles, the intrinsic ones that we went over, helping you with like gripping your feet and overall helping you stay balanced. Then the other exercise that you could kind of progress this one to as well is if you bring your big toe up. And then you're going to bring your big toe down and bring the little toes up this time. There you go. Awesome. And I want you to keep alternating doing that. So this one takes a lot of like control of those little muscles that we were talking about. Might be a little bit
harder than it looks.
Yeah, it might be a little bit harder, but as your foot and your ankle starts to get stronger, your ability to do these exercises will get a little bit easier too, the more you do them. Awesome. Odalisse, how does that make your toes and feet feel? You getting any cramps or any tiredness?
I feel like I really have to focus.
It's also a little bit of a mental game too.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome. I also like to call this one a little bit of toe yoga. So the next one I want you to do is spreading your toes out really big.
Okay, this is the hardest one for me. The mini ones here.
Yeah, spread them out as far as you can go. So this one's a little bit of splaying.
And then you guys don't want to compensate like I'm doing. I'm trying to keep my toes on the ground, but sometimes it comes up because it's hard. As much as possible, try and keep all toes on the floor.
And spread them out nice and thin. Perfect. Awesome. Let's do a couple more reps of that. But like I mentioned, these ones are really working on that grip strength of your ankle, and foot, which is really important with helping you stay balanced. Awesome. All right. The next one that I want to do is a little bit of heel raises. So the first thing I want you to do, there you go. Perfect. You're going to go on both feet here, and you're going to go up on your toes. Perfect. And then going back down. Awesome. Let's do like 12 reps of that. So this one's really important with any like push off strength. So we're really working your Achilles, your gastroc soleus complex. This exercise is really important with running as well and helping your ankle really get strong for that push off motion. And what you could do to even progress this is if you're up on that on a heel raise, and doing it on one leg too. This one even works a little bit of balance as well. What you really want to focus on when you're going down is that your ankle isn't like rolling to the side, because that could make a little bit of discomfort and pain in the ankle when you're doing it. So if you ever feel unsteady or anything, you could hold on to the couch like Odalisse just did there if you're feeling a little unsteady. But yeah, this one's a really great exercise, making sure you're doing it on both legs too. What you could even do to progress this even more is counting like 4 seconds on the way down. That's going to work a little bit on eccentric control. So that's using a muscle against gravity. So it's really building like the endurance in a muscle as well when you do that. Odalisse, how are your calves feeling?
Already working.
Awesome. Nice. And this last one is going to be the hardest one that I go over. So there you go. Make sure you have a little bit of space when you do this one. Great. And you're going to start on one leg, and then you're going to do a little bit of a side step to the next one. Great. So doing a little bit of a skater for this one. I would like how Odalisse is landing on one foot, and before she jumps to the next one, she's making sure that her ankle and knee is both steady. So you don't really see her ankle or knee wobbling when she does this. Another thing to watch when she does it too is if her knee is going kind of towards the middle or going a little bit inwards, which it's not. It's doing a really good job of not doing. There you go. Yep, that's what you want to focus on, is making sure your knee and ankle are relatively lined up when you land. You can make it even harder by either jumping further or jumping at a quicker speed. There you go.
This is a fun one.
Yes, it is fun. Perfect. Nice job, Odalisse.
Thanks. All right, guys, so we're gonna keep you moving. And then from here, I'm gonna have Becky be my model. And the first one we're gonna go over is called farmer's carry on your toes. So if you see people at the gym walking with like 2 weights on either side, that's a farmer's carry. We're just gonna vary it a little bit by having Becky do it on her toes. So we're gonna come up, yep. And she has light dumbbells on either side. But if you don't have that at home, honestly, you can use anything like water jug, milk jugs, wine bottles, which a lot of us have now. And I would do this one for endurance. So keeping our calf strong is important, but we also want to make sure the calf has good endurance because we want to go back to running or we want to take long walks in the park. We want to make sure our calf doesn't tire out quickly. So I would even do this one for time. So if you're doing this at home, you're doing laps around your apartment, I would time it, see if you can do at least 30 to 40 seconds. And then for the second round, try for 45 to 50 seconds.
Great thing to do while you're on a Zoom call.
That too, if you're bored on a Zoom call, do some farmer's carry on your toes with some weights. Awesome, that looks pretty good, Becky. All right, and then from here, we're gonna shift gears a little bit and work on some balance. So this one is called airplane balance. It's a little bit more of a progression than standing on one leg and holding it for a specific amount of time. So we're gonna have Becky lift one leg up, and for those of you at home who are following as well, she's gonna spread her arms out into a T, awesome. And then she's gonna bring her torso down towards the floor, slightly bending the knee on the ground. And then she's gonna come back up, yep. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to return. So arms are straight out to begin. And then as you bend, the hands come together to the front of the leg. So this one is a little bit challenging. I would say a way to regress it, if it's too difficult, is to just come down less. See if you can bring your hands to maybe the front of your thigh instead of below your knee. Awesome. And if you feel like you're still having trouble with this, you can also do it with one finger assist by the wall. Nice. And that looks pretty good. Awesome. And I would just say, make sure you guys feel safe when doing any balance activities, not only this one. So make sure you're doing it in front of something sturdy. You okay there, Becky?
Oh yeah, this one, feel the burn.
All right, that looks pretty good. And then from here, we're gonna have Becky do some sliders. So here we have a small disc called a slider. But if you don't have this at home, you can honestly use anything that provides a little bit of a gliding motion. Yep, such as a pillowcase. You can even use your sock, as long as the floor doesn't have too much traction. Awesome. But we're gonna have Becky put the slider under one foot, and then the other foot will stay on the ground. So this is kind of like a lunge. So she's gonna slide one leg out, keeping the knee straight, and then drive her hips back, perfect, and then slide it back in. So this is a great one for ankle and foot strength, but it also strengthens your knee, strengthens your hip. You can even involve the core here. So it's a really great one for a multiple of ailments. Awesome. So let's have her do a couple of more there just to make sure you guys get it. And then we want to make sure that the knee tracks in front of the foot. So we want to make sure it doesn't go in or too far out as you're sliding in and out. Good. Yep. And you want to make sure you're equal. You're doing it on both sides. And then from here, we're going to take it back. Good. So now instead of sliding out to the side, we're going to go backwards. So this is just like a reverse lunge. So knee is straight, bending a little bit and coming back. So you guys are definitely going to feel this probably in your glutes, as well as the front of your thigh and your quads. Becky's probably already feeling it after doing a couple there. And I will say this also challenges balance. So again, if you need to do it holding on to something on the side, that's okay. Feeling good there?
Oh yeah. I gotta do a couple more on this one. I did it a couple more sets on the other. I gotta make sure I'm even.
Yep, exactly. That looks pretty good. Awesome. All right. Oh, thank you, froze. All right, there you are, Becky. Sorry, you froze for a second. All right, guys, and then from here, we're gonna go through a couple of stretches. And these will be good for especially anyone who has plantar fasciitis or has any tightness in their calf or anything like that. So the first one we're gonna go over, it will be for the bottom of your foot. So if you wake up in the morning and you have tightness at the bottom of your foot, or you might have some heel pain, this will be a good one for you. So we're gonna have you bring one foot across the other knee. Awesome. And she's gonna hold on to all 5 of her toes and then pull back towards her shin. You can even see her arch. It's nicely stretched there. She's gonna hold it for about 15 to 20 seconds and then relax. If you guys are doing this at home and you don't really feel too much of a stretch, you can use your other hand to kind of massage at the same time that you stretch. So I would go along the arch. Good, and then hold 20 seconds and then relax. Awesome. And then from here, I don't know if Becky is frozen. Oh, there you are, okay. That looks pretty good. Feels good, Becky?
Oh yeah, feels great.
Awesome. Okay, and then the next stretch will be more so for our calf. So we're gonna have her stand by the wall. So we're gonna have you stand by the wall, Becky. And we're gonna do our calf stretch. So this one might be very familiar to a lot of you. We're just gonna tweak it a little bit. I think we lost her perhaps. All right, so I'm gonna demonstrate until Becky comes back. Okay, so a lot of people are familiar with the runner stretch. So one leg back, one leg in front. And they do it like so. So usually the knee is straight, you lean forward and you feel a nice stretch in your calf. So that stretches one of our calf muscles, our gastroc. However, a lot of people neglect our second calf muscle, which is our soleus. You're back, Becky? So I would do this with the back knee bent. So keeping the back knee bent.
I'm back, sorry everyone.
It's okay. Okay. Do you want to demonstrate the soleus one? Okay. So the back knee is bent and she's gonna hold 30 seconds and then relax. So again, a lot of people do this with the back knee straight, which stretches out one of our calf muscles, but they don't do it with the back knee bent. So sometimes people say, I stretch every day and I don't feel any release. This is a really good one to see if it can provide some change. Okay, and then last one we're gonna do, this is more of a lazy man stretch, you could say. We're gonna stretch out the calf. So this will be the first calf muscle or gastroc. We're gonna hold here. So you wanna make sure your knee is straight. Sure you guys can see there, and then you're just gonna pull back. So you should feel a nice stretch in the calf, even in the back of your knee. You're gonna hold 30 seconds, and we're gonna do this a total of 3 times. Awesome, so that should feel pretty good. You shouldn't feel any pain with this. If you're feeling any pain in the Achilles tendon, or it just feels a little bit weird, I would probably stop and not do it. And then the frequency with this is usually 30 seconds 3 times. That's usually my go-to for most stretches. All right, guys, sorry for the internet glitch. This is the world of Zoom now. I hope you guys found all those exercises and stretches helpful. We're gonna bring back Austin to answer any questions that you guys may have. And she's back.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. Awesome job. Great presentation. I really loved seeing the side by side and the demonstration with the verbal to really understand the proper form. I know I personally suffer from flat feet, so I'm really sitting here trying to do that, and I really feel the burn. So thank you for that. So there was a ton of audience participation. Thank you guys so much. Odalisse and Becky, we do have a fair share of questions that I want to dive right back into. So I think what I'll do is I'll ask you guys questions, whoever feels like running with it. Let's have you run it. We did have a lot of questions, a lot of similar questions, guys. So if I don't get to your specific question, I do apologize in advance, but we did have a lot come through. And again, we will be going through this at the end and trying to answer every single one to reach out to you guys. So, okay, let's see. We have a question about, is there anything specific that should be done for osteoporosis in the ankle?
That's tough to, not anything specific. I would just say focus on strengthening for sure. You want to make sure the muscles that support your bones are nice and strong. So doing like the heel raises might be beneficial for you as long as it feels comfortable. And then also keeping good flexibility. So calf stretch, keeping the foot feeling nice and flexible will be good. And I would even strengthen your knees and your hips, right? Because if your bone's a little bit on the weaker side, you want to make sure your entire leg is nice and strong.
Right, that's a great point, Odalisse. What you could do as well is like even doing like standing squats by a table, or if you don't need the support, just squats in general, working on building the strength of your bones and the muscles that support it as well is really important.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, guys. So we have a question about ankle clicking. So there was a bunch of questions about going up steps, going down steps. A majority of them said it didn't hurt. So is there anything that needs to be done if your ankle clicks?
I would, for the most part, say nope. If it doesn't hurt, it doesn't feel too weird, honestly, it's a-okay. I have a bunch of clicking in my neck, my hips click all the time. It's mostly just a change in pressure when we feel clicking in our body. So it's not dangerous or anything like that.
Perfect. All right. Okay, so I have flat feet and the muscles where the arch would be get very tight, and I have sharp pain if I walk too long. Are there any stretches to specifically target those muscles?
Right, great question. The first stretch that we went over is really great for stretching that arch. So the one where you're bringing all of your toes back, that's really going to stretch the area where you're feeling that pain that you're describing. What you could even do too is just doing the big toe as well for the stretch and holding it for like 30 seconds. And doing it like in the morning and night, or if you even wanted to do it before you know you're going to take a long walk. All of that is really important for helping some of that pain you're feeling.
Yeah, I would say as well as rolling like our frozen water bottle. I think a lot of us have maybe heard of it. So just like pretending this is a frozen water bottle, just putting it under the foot and then just rolling it out. That typically feels pretty good and stretches out the bottom of your foot really nicely.
Awesome. All right. So kind of a vague question, but what do you do if you find out you have a torn ligament in your ankle? What's the best next couple steps?
Sure. I guess like the first step would be is seeing what your doctor recommends. If it's surgery, if it's a brace, anything like that, definitely getting there, the podiatrist or general doctor's consult on that. But a lot of times people tend to do physical therapy for it, where we work on a lot of strengthening the muscles that support the ligaments instead. So like some of the exercises we were doing, but that being said, coming in person would also be really great too if you ever find out you have a torn ligament. So we can do more personalized care.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Becky. Okay, so can instability or lack of strength in the foot and ankle region impact your Achilles and your calf?
Yes, for sure. So everything works together. If you have instability due to a sprain or anything like that, your foot and ankle are not working optimally as it should. So it can create tightness in areas that shouldn't be tight. It can create you to compensate in your foot and your knee and your hip. So making sure that you get back your strength, your balance, and your stability will definitely aid with your feeling of like calf tightness, Achilles tendonitis, and things like that.
Perfect. Okay, so with the toe exercises, we had a few questions come in when you guys were doing the toe exercises. So can you sit? Do you have to stand? What is there a preference for when you do those toe exercises?
Sure. I definitely recommend sitting just so you could get a little bit better of a grip. Sometimes when you're standing and you're putting all of your weight on your foot, you might not get as much of that mobility versus sitting where you have a little bit less weight bearing on it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
If it feels easy though, you guys can challenge yourselves and do it in standing after.
Perfect. Okay, so going off of that, so what if you get a cramp in the arch when you're raising your toes and keeping your big toe on the floor, or vice versa? Is that normal, or what should you expect?
Yeah, I would say that's very normal. I honestly almost got a cramp doing that for a few seconds. You're basically, sometimes your arch is just not used to working that hard. It is a tiny muscle, but it can get crampy. So you can just quickly do one of these, and that should release it.
Yeah, definitely with the cramps, it shows that like your muscles that are in the foot are a little weak as well. So that being said, like the first few, you might get a couple cramps, but then as you continue to do them, maybe less cramps overall when you're doing them because you're getting stronger.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Awesome. Okay, so these exercises in general, if you have an issue with rolling your ankle or spraining your ankle, will these types of exercises help to prevent the ankle from rolling, or are there other exercises for that?
I would say there's a ton of exercises for that. Some of these definitely will be beneficial, like the heel raises, the sliders. But if you have bands at home, I think a really good one is doing like side steps at your foot. So you put a band right here and then you just step to the side. That's a really solid one to make sure the foot and the lower leg is strong. But yeah, these exercises we showed here will definitely be beneficial, but there's definitely an array of them that we can send you later on.
Cool. All right, let's shift to, I feel like what a lot of questions were coming out as bunions. So I'm going to kind of try to group some of these questions in. We did have quite a few. So does PT treat bunions? That's the first question.
Okay. So with the bunion, we don't necessarily like fix the growth of the bunion, but what we can really focus on is strengthening around it. And especially like helping with some of the pain, maybe that might be down the foot or anywhere along that way as well. We can help along with like sometimes with bunions, you might have some balance impairments as well. So really working on like the strength, stability of the foot and overall balance too, to help with the mobility pain.
Awesome. Would walking with your toes out pattern, would that help with taking some of the stress off the bunions, or would that worsen the bunion, or does that have an effect up the kinematic chain, we call it? So in the knees, the hips, back, if you change the way that you're walking from toes straight to toes turned out.
Meaning walking like this?
Yeah.
That can, depending on how irritated I would say it can take some stress off. But then that can lead to different like mechanical changes later on if you're doing that for a long period of time. So I would say it depends on the person. It depends how long you're doing it. I wouldn't do that forever per se.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like for anyone out there that did have a question pertaining to that, that may be a good reach out to one of us. We can definitely chat through it with you because it is, person specific, especially if you've had surgery, not surgery. I mean, this team that just spoke to you is probably the best to answer that question for you. But, if that doesn't quite answer your question, again, we're going to give you our contact information at the end. So feel free to reach out to any of us and we can definitely help you through that specific question. Okay, so how often do you need to do balance exercises for what we consider maintenance?
If you can, I would do it once a day. Yeah, it's even just like standing on one foot, seeing if you can hold it 30 to 40 seconds is beneficial. If time doesn't permit, every other day, but the more the better. Yeah, because things naturally, as we get older, we just lose some of our balance and stability. So getting ahead of it, I think, is important.
Yeah, that's amazing. What you could also do too is if some of those exercises are starting to get easier, like how Odalisse just said, the single leg balance one, what you could always do, depending on your level, and if you're feeling steady, you could always like work on maybe standing on like a pillow. That'll change the difficulty of it as well to continue to challenge you.
Yeah.
Okay, so high arches, we all hear a lot about that in the clinic. So if you have high arches, does that make you more susceptible to plantar fasciitis, or if you have flat arches?
I would say it can. It doesn't have to, but it can. Only because whether you have a higher arch or your foot is more on the flatter side, your ability to support your foot decreases. So I would say it doesn't have to cause plantar fasciitis, but again, you can get ahead of it by doing like toe yoga and a lot of foot intrinsic muscle work. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, let's see. We're getting a lot of questions around peroneal tendonitis. So are any of these exercises good for peroneal tendonitis, or are there a different set of exercises we should reach out to you guys for regarding that injury?
Sure. I think definitely the speed skaters that I had Odalisse doing would be helpful for peroneal tendonitis. But that being said, it depends on your level of pain while doing them. And especially with like it being a more challenging exercise with going faster. So definitely I would say there's other exercises that you can do to directly impact that as well.
Yeah, I would say a lower level one is if you have like a band at home. You probably guys have seen this on the internet, already done it through PT, but you can hold it out like so and then come out like this to kind of strengthen those peroneals on the side. This, if it's very irritated, and the calf strengthening will also be important. But yeah, also very patient specific, depending on irritability and where you guys are.
Awesome. So let's talk about plantar fasciitis. I feel like, that's something we commonly see in the clinic. So in regards to plantar fasciitis, if you guys could just reiterate again, do these exercises that we just went over specifically help with plantar fasciitis? Are there other exercises that do help? And if you guys could talk a little bit about just what to expect with plantar fasciitis, because we did have some questions coming in that says, some people had it for a short period of time. Some people have been struggling with it for a little bit longer. So, from your experience in the clinic, what do you guys typically see?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. A lot of the exercises we went over. So specifically the toe stretch, the one where you're bringing your big toe back, and even the 5 toes back. So that's the one where we are sitting and doing them. Another good stretch that you could do is the one that Odalisse was demonstrating, where you're stretching, standing up on the wall and kind of having your foot back a little bit. That's a great one for stretching the calf. And then the exercises too that are specific for plantar fasciitis were a lot of those toe, the towel scrunches, the splaying when you're bringing them out and in, and then the toe yoga ones are all super good for plantar fasciitis. That being said, like no matter how long you had the plantar fasciitis, doing these exercises consistently should kind of help with some of that pain you're feeling, and staying consistent with the exercises, doing them every day or every other day too.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, so do you always do exercises barefoot? So what's the preferred way to do these exercises?
I would say it depends. So if you're doing toe yoga, splaying, even some of the balance, barefoot would probably be better, just because you're getting feedback from the floor and your foot and ankle is working a little bit harder. If you're doing more high impact activities, like the skaters that Becky had me show, I would maybe do that with a sneaker on, depending on your irritability. But in general, doing a lot of balance activity, I like doing it barefoot just because everything is working. You're not compensating with your foot, and your body's kind of like forced to use everything it has.
Right. Exactly. That being said, like a lot of times with the shoe, it provides a lot of like external stability to your foot. So when you're doing the balance exercises barefoot, you're using your own muscles in your foot and your ankle to help you stabilize versus like a shoe sometimes. So I think that's a good point to mention as well.
Awesome. Nice segue into my next question. So again, in the clinic, we deal with this question a lot. Do I buy orthotics, over-the-counter orthotics? My podiatrist wants to make me these super expensive orthotics. And then I know as PTs, we're really big into, different shoes to provide for people and give them education because there's a ton of shoes out there. So what do you guys recommend? And I know it's a very loaded question, but do you recommend someone jumps into spending hundreds of dollars on these orthotics, or do you recommend that they start with PT and potentially a shoe change? How do you guys address, arch foot support when someone comes in and you're looking at all those options you have on the table?
I would say it definitely depends on the person. But with that said, I would try conservative management first, especially because orthotics can be very expensive and research doesn't always back it up. So it would suck to spend $300, $400, maybe even $500 on something that doesn't work. So I would definitely try more rehabilitation, see if it works. And then move on from there. Of course, it depends on the person. Sometimes we've had very severe cases where someone does need a little bit of an arch support, and even just going to like CVS or Rite Aid or whatever it may be can be beneficial. But my go-to is usually more conservative. And then if it doesn't work, seek out more expensive or invasive procedures.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Odalisse.
Yeah, I third that. That's typically how I do it as well. You're right. It's a big investment, but so, start with conservative PT, some shoes that you may change before, you invest into the rigid insole that you're going to purchase. Okay. So, can scar tissue cause any sort of discomfort in the ankle? Not so much pain, but feeling like there's limited range of motion. For example, this individual is talking about when they do lunges. So, what do you expect if you have limited ankle range of motion due to scar tissue or anything else?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Like as a scar starts to form, sometimes it could be a little less mobile than the rest of your skin. So whenever that happens, sometimes it could feel like a little bit tighter, especially depending on where the scar is. When you're doing like that lunging to like backwards or even like lunging to the side, you feel like a little bit like tighter on that scar area. So what you could do for that is just doing like ankle mobility exercises, and a little bit of the stretching as well should help with that. What you could also do is just a gentle massage to that scar as well to kind of help break up some of that tightness in tissue as well.
Yeah.
Great. What is your number one exercise for anyone with a tender Achilles tendon or with, a diagnosis of Achilles tendonitis? So I guess everyone's going to get two, because if we get one from each of you, we got two good ones.
My number one, it depends on where they are in terms of PT or rehab. Let me think for a second. Do you have one?
I guess it depends on how much pain there is. You could always start with like an ankle pump. So like this and pushing your ankle forward and back. And then you could even like, let's say that doesn't cause pain or irritation. And then adding like a band to it first, seeing like how much that causes pain. And if that one still feels good, then I would progress it to a standing heel raise.
Right. Yeah. I don't have a number one. Sorry. I would say I don't have a number one exercise, but a really good one is just like the heel raise progression. So you can do like up on 2, down on 1. If that feels comfortable, kind of like what Becky said. So hold and then come down really slowly. That's a really good one to get the Achilles tendon. But again, there's tons.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's really hard to really assess where someone is. So for everyone out there, that's a good loose way to address your Achilles tendonitis. But again, reach out to us if you have specific questions. Let's jump into this next one about plantar fasciitis. So do you recommend icing for plantar fasciitis?
Yeah, I like especially like icing with the water bottle and then rolling it. That typically feels good because one, you're kind of desensitizing pain and at the same time getting like a release in the plantar fascia. Especially for those who are more irritable, I would recommend icing.
Awesome. So again, I know everyone that's participating, thank you guys for still being here. Everyone's going to be in a different state of how injured they are or what they're going through. Some people are new to, for example, plantar fasciitis. Some people have been struggling with this for years. So again, everyone's going to be a little specific. So please remember that. Also, if you've hit that frustration point, because I'm reading some things and it seems like there's some people that have that frustration, and you haven't had PT or you've been trying to manage it on your own, please reach out to us, again, this crew as well, because if you don't feel comfortable coming into the clinic, we could definitely see you over telehealth and just talk through a couple strategies and see if there's anything or any more value we can add. So, just a gentle reminder for that. Let's see. So this individual is saying that the back of their ankle feels tight as if there's a band there. So what's the best exercise to loosen up the back of your ankle?
So there's a couple. The first one one of the first cool down ones we showed is a really good one. If you feel like you're not getting a good release from that, another good one is this one on the floor. So typically I put my hands on my knees and then use that to kind of really get a good stretch in the back of my ankle. Sometimes you might feel a little bit of tightness in the front of the foot, but that's okay because you're getting a good stretch there. But this is typically a very effective one to get a nice stretch and kind of break up any tightness there.
Great. And I'll take this question real quick. So how do we get in contact for an evaluation with one of you all? So at the end of this, we're going to be wrapping up fairly quickly or fairly soon. We will be putting our email addresses up. We're going to have almost a virtual business card that's going to come up at the end. It's going to have my email address, Joe Lacerda, who's in the background trying to answer some questions as well, and then Odalisse and Becky. So you'll have our direct contact information, so you can always reach out to us and we can help coordinate something. But I'll reiterate that after we finish getting to some of these questions. Here's a good question. I'll let one of you guys take it. We actually face this a lot. So do you need a prescription from a doctor to get an evaluation? And I can chime in as well afterwards, but what do you guys say?
No, you don't. Come to us if you need us. Of course, it depends on the insurance, but for the most part, 90%. I would say you don't need a referral. You can come directly to us and we can check out and see what's wrong.
Yeah. Exactly. It does depend on your insurance, but 95% of the time, you do not need a prescription from any doctor. You can just literally walk in off the street and say, my ankle hurts me. Is there an availability to see a physical therapist? We can verify your insurance on the spot and then be able to tell you a little bit more information about whether you do require something or if you have a responsibility. So yes, the short answer is no, you do not need a prescription from a doctor. Okay, so let's see, we have one other one. Do heel raises help with balance?
Yep, 100%. Especially like the starting one is the double heel raise. If you feel unsteady doing that, then there's a counter for support, but even doing it just like next to a counter, that way you have it just in case you need it. And then same thing, progressing it, you could do a single leg heel raise with the counter there if you need it, and then you could progress it further by not having the counter for support. Another thing to mention is whenever you're doing the heel raises, if you feel like your ankle's moving at all, like that can kind of be an indication that maybe your balance isn't 100% strong, or that your calf muscles are a little weaker too, and that's why it's kind of moving a little bit when you're going down. But yeah, those are 100% good for balance.
Awesome. Okay, so we have a lot of questions coming in for insurance. Guys, reach out to us directly afterwards. I'll quickly answer this one. Yes, we do accept Medicare. Do you need a referral for that one? With Medicare, they do have guidelines. You do need a prescription from your doctor. So maybe a telehealth session with your doctor to get the prescription, and then you can come to PT. But you can always call. You can always schedule an appointment a week or two down the road, and then in between, try to get that referral from your physician. Good question. Okay, guys. So we have a question about running with plantar fasciitis. I've had plantar fasciitis on and off for the past 5 years. I want to return to running. I'm currently running for 30 minutes and then the pain starts. Any tips on what I should do?
I would say, yes, we'll check out your flexibility and see if you perhaps have any like tightness in your calf that may be adding to the plantar fasciitis pain. And then I would progress slowly with running. So if you're having it at the 30-minute mark, maybe do that for a while and see if you can bump up. Definitely try the stretches every day if possible. And then just basically make your foot as strong as it can be. Yeah, so doing a lot of like the toe yoga and things like that will probably be beneficial.
I think that's a great point to mention too. And then I think like if you're still having like this pain, it definitely, come and talk to us, come check us out, go to PT. We can even take like a little bit of time just to look at your running analysis and see if there's any other muscles that are potentially contributing to why you're having some of that pain.
Great. So that was going to be one last question about that was, do you guys perform a running analysis on someone that wants to increase their activity that is presenting with anything from plantar fasciitis to ankle pain? And if you do, is it typically a gradual increase?
Yeah, for sure. They do running analysis. Yeah, definitely in the clinic.
Great. Okay, awesome. Well, Odalisse, Becky, thank you so much. Everyone out there, we hope that today's talk was valuable and that you learn how to properly perform a few exercises for your foot and ankle. We tried our best to get to the questions. If we didn't get to your question, again, we're going to do our best to reach out to you directly afterwards to answer that question. We'll also be sending out a handout of the exercises that were reviewed today for you to have as a reference. So for anyone that did have questions about the exercises, you will be receiving those as well. Okay, so now for where all the questions were, we're going to show our presenters again. So again, top left, Odalisse, who's at our Upper East Side location in Manhattan, 84th Street, and the bottom right, Becky, who is at our Brooklyn Heights location in Brooklyn. So feel free to write down their contact information so you can reach out to them for any other questions or to even schedule an appointment if you're in the area or you just feel like you really connected with them over this Zoom webinar. I'm going to leave their information up for a little bit longer, so feel free. Again, their email address is underlined at the bottom. It's their first initial and last name at spearcenter.com. All right. So now we're going to jump to the moderators. So top left is myself, Austin, the clinic director and physical therapist at our Park Slope location in Brooklyn. Bottom right, our Q&A moderator, Joe Lacerdo, who's also the clinic director and physical therapist at our 84th Street location with Odalisse as well on the Upper East Side. So again, take a few seconds. There's my email address and Joe's email address as well. Feel free to jot that down if you guys have any questions, concerns, or anything else regarding to the webinar. All right, so at Spear, we treat an array of conditions from head to toe. So it doesn't just stop at the foot and ankle, and we're open again for in-person as well as telehealth visits. So should you feel that you could benefit from some individualized guidance and treatment, please don't hesitate to reach out. Please don't put this on hold just because, there's a lot of things going on out in the world right now. Doesn't mean that you have to put your physical therapy or your rehab needs to the side. So again, reach out to any of us and we'll personally coordinate you being set up with one of our team members or even with ourselves for an evaluation. All right. And lastly, we're going to be hosting 2 more webinars before the holidays. Starting in January 2021, we're not stopping, but we are shifting to monthly webinars. So follow us on social media and or keep an eye on your inboxes for more information regarding those dates and times. All right. Thank you all so much for spending time with us this evening. We hope you enjoyed the webinar. Reach out to us if you have any questions, and we wish you all the best and happy holidays. Bye, guys.